Hi, everybody. So, I have a new Precious Paradox episode that I'm bringing to you today, and the title of this Precious Paradox is The Martyr Syndrome: How We Sacrifice Too Much of Ourselves. And what prompted this episode is because I am seeing so much heaviness coming from people. You can feel it when you talk to them. You can tell that they're just exhausted. And when I start talking to them, the first thing I hear is that they're aware that they need a break. They're aware that they need something to better support and help them to feel better. But they choose not to for a variety of reasons. And this is something that everybody does frequently in our lives. How often do we sacrifice far more of ourselves than is necessary because we tell ourselves it's going to be okay? I'm more worried about everybody else than I am about me. I can deal with my bullshit later. However, when do you actually take care of that bullshit? Because let's face it, we don't do it as often as we should, and we sacrifice and we push off our needs so much more than we should. Because then it also is, we tell ourselves that we're going to make this sacrifice in our bodies. We're going to make a mental sacrifice, an emotional sacrifice to try to take care of somebody else, when what those people want for us is to take care of us. They want us to value ourselves as much as we are making an effort to value them by martyring ourselves. The martyr syndrome is really difficult because we constantly find ourselves in this space of choosing between what we need and convincing ourselves that what we need is actually only what we want, that it's not a necessity. We downplay our needs for a lot of different reasons. And what ends up happening is we make those sacrifices of ourselves, and as much as we want to try to tell ourselves that it's helping others, the truth is it's not. We're not helping anybody by sacrificing ourselves and not honoring and vocalizing and seeing that our needs are met. When you are sacrificing a day off because you have to work, you're only working yourself further into the ground. You need a break, but we justify that, well, I'll be okay. I can push through. It's not a big deal. I don't want to take that day off because I feel guilty for taking a day off, because mental health isn't reason to take a sick day. So anybody who's told themselves that, we're going to unlearn all of that. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pop, all nine shorts, boys, poor beds, and beyonds. Your sick days that you have at work, you can use them when you are feeling physically sick, emotionally sick, or mentally sick. I don't know if you need this you need to hear permission from somebody, but if you need to, I'm giving it to you now. Everybody deserves those breaks, because I'm sure many have heard the phrase where if you don't give yourself a break, your body will force you to take one. That is very true. Because if you don't, I really could use a break, or I could use some downtime. But you tell yourself that you have to be busy and you constantly stay busy. How much time beyond that initial thought do you find that you've gotten unbearably sick and you were out for multiple days in bed, completely incapacitated, or if you're prone to anxiety or depression and you have a complete manic episode that it just takes you out? How much of that is happening because we're pushing ourselves and we're not acknowledging our need when our body is trying to initiate that in small ways? And because we don't listen, it's like, all right, I'm going to take you all the way out if you don't want to listen to me. Boom. Sick. We owe it to ourselves to honor and acknowledge the ways that we need to be feeling well and to feel at ease in our bodies, in our lives, in our minds. Listen to me carefully. Martyring yourself for the sake of others helps nobody. Because doing this, you may feel like you're saving somebody or you're helping somebody out in the short term, but what happens in the long term? Those people that you're martyring yourself for are going to be hurt even more, or they're going to be impacted more because you took too much onto yourself and it became so overwhelming that you became sick, or you couldn't handle things mentally or emotionally anymore. The people that I want everybody to carefully and honestly consider all the ways that you do things for other people who only want the best for you, and you tell yourself, oh, I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it for them. But are you really helping anybody out by doing this to yourself? Is this going to hurt them because something's going to happen with you that you're trying to take all of the responsibility, you're trying to take all the pressure so that everybody else can be comfortable? But then what's going to happen when you can't hold that load anymore and everybody around you is then having to process and figure out how they can help you when you don't have a choice anymore? We can't do this to ourselves. We don't deserve it. And the loved ones around us who want us to be okay, they don't deserve that aftermath that we are putting ourselves in the firing range of. So yeah, what exactly are some of the ways that we martyr ourselves in life? We make ourselves the martyr. We don't take our sick days because we feel guilty for taking a day off. Whether that's our jobs make us feel guilty, or our learned behaviors have told us that you don't use your sick days. You need to be at work every single day, and whether you feel okay or not. If you're okay enough to function, like bare minimum function, if you are not completely laid up and incapacitated at home in your bed, you can be at work. Let's stop that. We need to stop that. Whether it be work, whether it be school, your well-being is far more important than those things. Your well-being needs to be taken care of. Now, obviously, there are lines, there are circumstances where that can be abused. Being aware of that, doesn't make the root of the concept any less valid. We have to take care of ourselves. We can't push and push and push and push and push ourselves and not expect something to end up being too much. Sacrificing and murdering ourselves because we're afraid to ask for support, where we don't want to ask for help because we don't want to inconvenience anybody. We are the ones who carry all of the excess weight for others and support others, but we do not feel comfortable having that offered to us. So we're just going to continue to take everything on. You are allowed to ask for help. There is nothing weak or wrong with not being able to handle every little thing that life throws at you. Because let's be honest, let's face it, life can throw some heavy ass shit at you, and you can't expect yourself to just be able to catch it and say, oh yeah, go ahead, hit me again. No, that's not how it has to be. And the biggest thing here is that we have a choice. We can choose whether or not we are going to influence our lives, or whether we let our lives influence us. Does that make sense? Don't let, do your job. Work your job. But don't let your job work you. Live your life. But don't let your life run you. It's, because a lot of the time the martyr syndrome, that comes from us feeling limited in our choices. And there's ways in which we do it in order to retain a sense of control of things. It could be learned behaviors or beliefs that we've developed over the course of our lives that, I'm the man of the house, and I'm supposed to be the one, providing for my family and taking care of all of these things. But what happens when you get sick and you aren't able to ask for help, or you feel like you're not able to ask for help, where you feel like you're taking on all of these things, and then because these concerns are coming up, all of that stuff just continues to pile on. It gets heavy. It gets heavy. And it's heaviest for us, the martyr, but there's still a lot of heaviness that's associated with it, with the people around us who, they, like I keep saying, they want the best for us, but they can't choose for us. So they have the tendency to sort of sit around the outside of the ring and try to be supportive, and they try to give advice, and they, try to offer different suggestions and ways to go about things. But ultimately, because of free will, it's our choice. It's either we're going to choose to relinquish a little bit of control and allow ourselves to be vulnerable to let others come in and help carry the load with us. If we're not willing to release the control that we're trying to maintain so much because we're afraid, or we're concerned, or we're overwhelmed and we don't want to inconvenience people, but it's not about that. People are not going to be inconvenienced. People who love you and are truly authentic and want to be there for you are not going to be inconvenienced by you admitting and being open that I need help. No problem. We're there. What do you need? It's we have to get past it in ourselves that there's shame or regret or weakness in admitting when we need help and then receiving that help. That because even if you get to the point where you can say, yeah, I need help, it's like, well, do you want help? No, I got it. No, I got it. But you just said you need help. How many times do we do that because we feel ashamed of this supposed weakness that we've created in our minds? These people around us who love us don't see us as being weak. They're frustrated because we cannot bring ourselves to accepting the help. We have to choose that because they can't force it. Because as soon as everybody starts trying to force their perspectives, or they start saying, you just need to do this, you just need to let me help you, you just need to just sit down and not do anything and let somebody else take care of this, but then again, that's frustrating. And then you get angry because then you're being forced into doing something. It's just another way in which we're losing control, that we've been trying to maintain it by taking care of all of these things, and somebody else is with good intentions behind it forcing us to do something we're not comfortable with. But that's because we have solidified ourselves in this martyring mindset that we are terrified to not be in control of those things. Because if we're choosing to martyr ourselves, we're choosing to take it on, there's control. Because then if we still feel those things and it's not because we chose it, then likely that's going to feel a lot heavier. This is coming down to the limitations we align with in our minds. For whatever reasons, we have chosen these limiting beliefs that are keeping us from living and thriving in our lives because we've made ourselves feel guilty for doing anything that feels good. And we put so much pressure on ourselves. And it feels like the world, society puts so much pressure on us. But when it comes down to the individual people that we have in our lives, there are very few of them that actually place that much expectation on us, because there's far more love there than there is expectation. Our loved ones don't expect us to be perfect. Our loved ones do not expect us to be able to handle every little thing that happens in our lives. And as human beings, we're not meant to be solo creatures. We are meant to be communal and connected and social beings. We're meant to have connections with people. We're not always meant to do things alone. We thrive best when we feel we are a part of a loving, supportive group. But in order for that sort of dynamic to flow and thrive, everybody needs to be willing to step up and be a stronger person when somebody else isn't able to, but also be willing to accept that you may be that other person, and you're going to need to, that it's necessary for us to accept help from those around us. So I think we need a couple of clearings. So in all the ways that you have martyred yourself and sacrificed yourself for the sake of others or for the sake of convenience, are you willing to uncreate and unlearn and release all the magnetic and electrical imprinting that this limiting belief has caused in our nervous systems, all the way down to the cellular level, and anything that doesn't allow us to release and transmute all of that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Deep breath. In all the ways that we fear losing control in our lives, that we justify martyring ourselves, let's uncreate and destroy all that is times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Deep breath. All of the emotions that come up and are let down by sacrificing ourselves, being afraid to ask for help, being worried more about others than our own well-being, all of the heaviness and all of the lightness that fluctuates within this topic, let's transmute all of it, return it to spirit, and release all of that disease from our body and anything that doesn't allow us to do so. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, poc, on, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Deep breath. In all the ways that we have chosen to put ourselves last, in all of the ways that we have chosen to put ourselves behind everything else in life, let us uncreate and destroy everything that is. Times a godzillion. Trifold sequencing systems run right, wrong, good, bad, pop, poc, on, nine shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Deep breath. In all the ways we have tied up our worth, in all the ways we have tied up our capabilities, in all the ways we have tied up the value of ourselves in justifying our self-martyring tendencies. Let's uncreate. Let's completely and permanently uncreate, destroy, unlearn, and transmute all that is times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, poc, all nine shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. You are worth taking care of first. Yeah, in the the airplane manual things, whenever like the air masks drop down, and who do you give air to first? Do you give yourself air? Do you give your child air? Or do you give the elderly person sitting next to you air? You give yourself air first. You can't pour from an empty cup. You need to take care of yourself first. And then by taking care of yourself, everything that you have to offer others around you flows out effortlessly. But without your own oxygen, without your own support, without your own well-being considered first, there's not very much you're really going to be doing for anybody. You are worth taking care of first. And that doesn't mean that you're selfish. Taking care of yourself first does not make you selfish. It does not make you selfish. Each and every one of us is a divine and sacred being that deserves to thrive in this life. And in order for us to thrive, we have to take care of ourselves first. And we have to choose when and where we need help. And then we have to choose when and where we're going to receive it. You don't have to do any of this alone. You have support. But you do have to learn to ask for it. And you do have to learn to accept it, whether you ask for it or not. If it's something you know you need and it's offered, you need to have the flexibility of mind and the awareness that I needed this and I was afraid to ask, but it's being offered. And I need to learn to be okay with accepting it. You are not an unmodest person. There's being, oh, thank you, but that's okay. Modesty may seem like a really good quality, but in excess, it's only hurting you. And in extension, hurting others because you're hurting yourself. So, yes, Spirit's pretty much telling me that I kind of, brought our precious paradox full circle. So, you are valued by others, and it's only difficult for you to see that because you're not really valuing yourself. What can you choose that will allow you to value yourself more than you did yesterday? I love you guys. Thank you for joining me for this precious paradox. See you next time.